Hi, I'm RM, and these are all the books I hope to read in August. So let's start with books that I'm already reading, and I'm probably not going to finish. I definitely won't finish before the start of August. So the first one is a reread, actually, and that is Storm Warning by Mercedes Laquet. And I remember really liking this book. I can't tell you what it's about because it's very far in a series, and it would be spoilers, but I remember really liking it, and so far I'm like 21% in, and I still really like it. I'm also quite enjoying the other book I'm currently reading, which is not a reread, and that is a memory called Empire. This is a science fiction book about our main character who is an ambassador from a small country to an empire. And she's a new ambassador because the last guy was murdered, except no one will admit that he was murdered. So she kind of has to deal with that. And if we already talk about physical books, let's talk about the other physical books I want to read. So this one is the one I'm really unsure about. This is Aklinisha Tzmicha by Dov Darom. This is a non-fiction about education. Education and pluralism, basically. The title literally translates into a climate of growth. I'm unsure about it. First of all, because it's non-fiction. And secondly, because I literally just finished my semester. I really want to go and read a book that could have been part of my semester. I'm not sure, but that one's going down. Then one that this is like the third TBR in 4 months that I'm putting on, but Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. This I've been told is very good. It's a historical fiction that follows Thomas Cromwell, Henry VIII advisor. And he did have a very interesting life. But this is a big book. And it's the first in the series. Then another pretty big book, this one is also very tall, is Snow Crash by Neal Stephenson. This is very famous as being like a genre outstander, or even like a something that, like, how would you say it? That establishes something in a genre. So I'm kind of unsure about this book because the last one I read 8 pages before I DNF'd it. But this is about this guy named Hero with an I. And Hero is a pizza deliverer, but in virtual reality, he's a warrior prince. And he fights against hackers. And there's one particular hacker that's trying to bring about a digital apocalypse that he's fighting against. I don't really know that sounds good to me, but it is, like I said, it's genre establishing. So I'm going to try it at least. So there are 2 here that I'm already unsure about. So let's get to the other books I'm planning to read. So first is Kings, Queens, and In-Betweens by Tanya Boteju. This was on my hold, but I didn't have a book to read. So I took out Storm Warning by Mercedes Laquet, and then I came in around 2 minutes after I'd taken out Storm Warning. But I am, like, I want to read it. So I took it out of the library, and I'm planning to read it, hopefully, with God's help, after I finish Storm Warning. So this is a YA book following Nima, who is kind of just, she's trying to figure herself out, like a lot of YA books. And she actually kind of finds herself falling into the drag scene. Interesting. Then I have 2 books in hold that say, this one says it's available soon. It's A Conspiracy of Truth by Alexandra Rowland. And this one sounds very good. It's about a guy who's in prison. It's a fantasy book. And it's about a guy who's in prison, and he doesn't know why he's in prison, but he has to tell stories good enough to get all of these political leaders to fight each other instead of focusing on killing him. Sounds very Russian, honestly, and I'm very interested in it. And nervous about it because I'm so interested in it. Then the next one that's on my hold says it will be available in 2 weeks. We'll see if that really happens. Is A Most Remarkable Creature, The Hidden Life of the World's Smartest Birds of Prey by Jonathan Mayberg. So this is nonfiction science, following, I believe, hawks. I'm not sure, but some type of bird of prey. Sounds very good. Okay, then we have more fiction, none of which I believe are on hold. Hopefully they're not. So there's Learning to Swear in America by Katie Kennedy. This follows this Russian teen who is incredibly smart, and he's basically invited over to America to help figure out a way to stop this asteroid from barreling into Earth. But the problem is that most people are refusing to believe that there is an asteroid headed for Earth. So he finds himself, instead of trying to stop it, trying to convince people to believe him and the rest of the scientists that it's happening so that he can get the money to build stuff to stop it. And this is a YA book. Then another YA, wow, I have a surprising amount of YA on this, is Tumbling by Kayla Carter. So I read Kayla Carter's 55 Things Wrong by Gwendolyn Johnson and absolutely loved it. Like, I love this so much. So hopefully I love Tumbling too. I think this is older. 55 Things Wrong with Gwendolyn Rogers was middle grade. I believe this is YA. So I'll just read you the synopsis. It's about 5 gymnasts. So Grace loved gymnastics, but she's just not winning competitions. Then Lee, Grace's best friend, has a gymnastics career, but she also has a secret that could ruin everything. Camille, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. I'm going to go with Camille. Camille wants to please her mom, wants to please her boyfriend, and most of all, wants to walk away. Wilhelmina was denied her Olympic dream 4 years ago, and she won't let anything stop her again, no matter what. And finally, Monica's terrified. Nobody believes in her, and there's really no reason they should. So it follows them during the 2 days of the U.S. Olympic gymnastics trials. Sounds very interesting. I mean, also because I love Kayla Carter. Then I want to read Sitters and Sparrows by Stephen Bachman. This, I believe it's a fantasy. It's basically about an orphan who gets a message that she has a sudden inheritance, a castle. And this is a middle grade. And she gets there, and I think it's kind of horror-y, but like in a fairy tale way. Okay. Then I want to read Euphoria Kiss by Allison Evans. So this seems to be a YA magical realism about 3 kids. We have Babs, Iris, and a boy who doesn't have a name. So they're all kind of weird in a magic way, and they start hanging out together and working spell work. However, something is happening in the Fae realm, and they have to deal with it. I'm not sure about this one, but we'll try it. And lastly on my TBR is A History of Histories, Epics, Chronicles, Romances, and Inquiries from Herodotus and Thucydides to the 20th century by J.W. Barrow. As you can pretty much hear, this is a non-fiction. And it's talking about historians, basically the work of historians. It's a history book about the work of historians. So that does sound very cool to me, and definitely something I'd like. Anyways, that's all of the books that I'm hoping to get it to in August, and we'll see how many of them I DNF, because I have quite a few risky books on this TBR.